Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk with Ben podcast. I hope you've had an amazing week. I hope you've had a chance to enjoy this nice weather. I hope you've been able to maybe watch some, I know some soccer games have been on. I've been watching Hungary, who took 2 points in the group of death. That's what I've been doing. That's just been awesome for someone that knows how much Hungary loves being the underdog. So that's what I've been doing. I hope you've been enjoying it with family and friends and so on. And if you're new, my name is Ben, and this is my podcast where I talk about life, I talk about ministry, I talk about pretty much anything that comes to my mind, comes to my heart, and I want to share with you. And I hope that God gets the glory through all of it, and I hope that you can be encouraged through it, and maybe even be challenged a little bit as well. And so today, I'm excited, sort of. I am excited. I'm always excited. Let's be honest. But what I'm excited about is that I have my plane tickets to head back to Hungary. I also have some new things that will be announced in a video on my YouTube channel that will come out, I hope, probably tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday. So you'll listen to this on a Thursday, probably come out Friday or Saturday. There'll be an announcement of just some new things that are going to be happening with the channel that I hope. And also another podcast that will be on its way that I'm super excited about. But just not yet. It's basically I have to kind of wait till I move over to Hungary to kind of get that all situated before I just start getting stressed out and trying to record too many things and then getting stressed out even more. And you know how it goes. So that's pretty much what has been happening. And so I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to share a little bit. If you're listening to the podcast, you get a little head start, a little bit about what is happening, what will happen with the channel and things like that. I wanted to talk about that. It's kind of like an update podcast, sort of, also just exciting things and maybe some things that I've learned along the way. So the first thing is that I fly back July 7th. So as you're listening to this, it's less than 2 weeks. And I will be on my way back to Hungary. I will be getting situated back into European life. It's kind of weird to say that. Usually that's like something that, you go a week and then you come back like I've, did in the past. And when I stayed there for a year, I got so used to it. I come back here. It took me like almost a month to get used to an American lifestyle again. And then now I'm going back to a European lifestyle. It's just interesting. Let's just say that. But I'm super excited to be heading back to the country that is really going to be home for me. I've said that before, that Hungary's really become home. It's always, this house I'm in, my family and everything, obviously that's home. But in reality, I feel most at peace when I'm over there in a country that is, it's beautiful. It's amazing people. And I could spend a whole podcast episode. My hat is crooked. Sorry, that was a side note. But I could spend a whole episode on just how much I love Hungary and all that. But I will say, it is kind of crazy to be heading back. I think it's even more crazy knowing that when I go back within like a month, I get married, which is just also weird in of itself. Not in a bad way weird. It's just, I love Rebeka and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to love this life, but it's weird for a guy like me who at some points, and I've said this before, felt like that wasn't going to happen to me. And it's just a really cool feeling and I'm super excited. But it's a little stressful at the same time. A lot of things we got to finish up. And especially with COVID, it just can throw a loop for anything, which before I go on to what else I wanted to talk about today, talk about that, because flying with COVID, I know how it was coming back. So not when I went, because it was right before COVID hit, but when I was coming back to America, like getting a test, making sure it's like a certain amount of time before, you touch down in Germany. And then I had whatever, there was a bunch of things. This time it was, between Germany and Switzerland. Switzerland, it's not as bad. I can kind of do it. I could have a little longer span between, the test or whatever. I'm still going to get a test close to when I leave, but it's just kind of crazy because, so as you know, I got the first shot of the vaccine a couple of weeks ago. I actually get my second one tomorrow. Hence why I'm recording this now. And so I don't seem drugged on camera. So I will be getting that second shot, but it's crazy because that to me, you're thinking COVID, that should take care of it, right? But no, every country is different. Every guideline is different. Even if you have a vaccine, you have to do all these other things. It's just like, there are times where I wonder about this world and times that I get frustrated and at the same time realize that God's in control. And I have to remind myself that because I get really frustrated really easily. But I'm super excited to be traveling back to the country that I love. No matter how much chaos can go on, it's going to be awesome to be back with my love, with Rebeka, and being able to hang out again in person. I'll tell you that FaceTiming for the last about 4 months has been weird and cool at the same time. Can be frustrating at times. You miss each other. You want to have that conversation in person. You want to be able to hug the person when they're sad. It's definitely been a challenge, and that's something that God's taught me is like communication still matters. And trust me, I have not been the best at communicator even through FaceTime. It's just not my thing. And I try to be better, but God's really taught me that you still have to find a way to show love towards each other and towards other people as well, especially when you're so far away from each other. And as many of you know, I was hoping to get her over here in June. Here, it is still June, and then we would just hang out for about a month and a half, and then go back. Right? Obviously, that didn't happen, and it can be frustrating, but you understand that. And the joke kind of is that our relationship's kind of been all based around COVID in a sense, because without COVID-19, we never meet and so on. And I just think about all the time, like, will we ever have a normal month without COVID in our relationship? Because if you think about it, ever since we started, we've always had COVID to worry about. So it's definitely something that is interesting and a challenge, but a good challenge. And I'm super excited to be back and in the country. That is amazing. And doing camp as well. I'll be doing camp at the end of July before I start my job. And that moves on to the second thing. I haven't really talked about my job at all on the podcast. I really haven't. There's been a couple reasons for that. But I'll talk about it a little bit. You'll hear about it on the update videos coming out. But so my job's really going to entail is that I'll be working at Greater Grace International School. It's a school in Budapest. Budapest. It's a great place. I've already met quite a few of the staff. I've met my coworker that I'll be working with in the tech department. I'll get to that in a second. And it's going to be a great place to start my career. Really, sense in teaching. Really, just working full time somewhere and getting my feet wet. I have 2 feet wet. So feet wet. There we go. So. It is super exciting, though. I'm really excited to work at this school. It's a new challenge. Obviously, you all know that my major was early childhood education, which is something that I'm the most comfortable with. But then when they offered the media position, basically I will be teaching, basically like 7th grade. I'll be teaching typing, which will be fun. 8th grade, I'll be teaching like Google Suite, so like Excel sheets, all that kind of stuff, docs and stuff like that. And then the fun one is going to be sophomores, where I'll be teaching, what is it? I forget now. Coding. There we go. That's what it is. I almost forgot what I was teaching. That shows you how much I'm excited about this one. I've never coded in my life. It's going to be one of those things where I'll kind of learn here at the end of this month. I'll just be doing some things just to get my feet wet and really just kind of try to figure out what I'm doing. But along with that'll only be a couple days a week. It's not going to be an amazing, like full day thing. The other part of the days, I will be the IT guy along with my coworker, where we'll kind of maintain a lot of the IT stuff. I'm not amazing at IT. I know the basics of a lot of things, and I'm going to learn a lot. I kind of already told them, like, I know that I'm not necessarily the go-to guy for this, but I've been grown up knowing that you work for what you get, and so I'm excited for that. Excited for that opportunity. And there'll be other times where I'm sure I'll get to be around kids and stuff. And people ask me all the time, "Is this what you want to do long term at this school or at any other school?" And I'm like, not really. I mean, I would love to get back in the classroom at some point and really have my own class where I can just focus on teaching. I never really got the opportunity to do that outside of student teaching and subbing, obviously. And to be able to do that would be a blessing. But I also know that God has a plan, and I'm really praying that, other things as well, can kind of boom on the side as well. Like I really hope and I pray that the Bound Experience as a brand, as a channel and everything can really grow and can really benefit so many more people. And obviously doing ministry on the side as well. It's going to keep me busy. So that's kind of like my job life, I guess you call it. Rebeka, my fiance, she'll be working as a barista, which, if you know me, it's going to be a challenge. The amount of coffee she's going to be talking about. I'm sure she's going to make me try coffee. I don't really like coffee. I mean, I could tolerate it if I have to. It's just not my thing, And so Rebeka, I know you're watching, I know you're listening. So I'm sorry. Coffee's just not, it's going to take a lot. I always tell people it's going to take a lot for me to just be like, every day I need to go get coffee. But yeah, so it's going to be cool for both of us she actually started her job already. So it's really cool. Hopefully then when, we have the opportunity in the future to maybe do more things that are along what we would love to do, in the sense. And so super excited about just all of that. Like I said, and it's going to be a great blessing, to be able to work and to be able to live in that great country. Getting married at the end of August. The big prayers we have right now is that my family can come over, at least my mom, dad, and brother can get over without any issues. That's like the big thing right now in Europe, is just getting into countries is just kind of a challenge because vaccines are accepted in some places, other places they're not. They have to be from a certain it's chaos with this whole COVID thing. So we're just praying and saying, Lord, you know the way, the will, your will. And so, it's a lot of things that got to be really figured out. But like I said, we know that God has a plan, and that's what's important. And so that's kind of like the life, what's happening in Ben's life, and I don't really know what I labeled this podcast as, or what the title is, because honestly, I was just like, I need to talk about this before I actually get over there, because then I feel like it's kind of weird then to talk about it. I don't know why, but whatever the title is, that's what it is. But so like I said at the beginning, I'll be coming out with an update video just about obviously the moving and stuff, but which I went into more detail already. But a lot of what I'll be talking about is just the changes to the Bound Experience brand / channel. I will be still doing this podcast. This podcast will still be around. I mean, I'm at episode 95. I would feel terrible to just be like stopping, because I like doing this. I like talking about my life. But there's one thing that I have missed so much, and I don't think I realized it because I think I just ignored it, because I was like, the reason why I started this specific podcast was, one, to share my life, to share my story, and to share what ministry's like. But two, I didn't want to have to do a sports podcast, right? Like that's why my brother and I started a separate podcast. Why I did this, because I did that for 4 years, and I thought, do I really want to do it anymore? But as I've kind of always watched sports, I keep up with sports. Some of my friends have a podcast called the Fifth and Goal Podcast. So if you want to go listen, it's on Apple Podcasts and everywhere you can find a podcast. And as I was listening, I'm like, I miss this, right? Like I miss the opportunity to talk about sports, something that I've been around my whole life. But coming from a perspective that is honest and is not something that is just degrading certain things or certain people, but just talking about my honest opinions, like, man, this team is bad. Why are they like, and really, I just really want to get back into what I was doing in college, which was for 4 years, talked about serial sports. We talked about why they struggled. We talk about why is the basketball team, 8-15 right now, and we talked about those things that they're missing or whatever. And I kind of want to get back into it. I tell in the update video, I basically say, I don't really know who's going to be on the podcast with me. It might just be me. And if that's what it is, you get to deal with this face. Well, if you're listening, that's a little weird. Deal with this voice, I guess, for a while, maybe the whole time. But if there's someone over in Hungary, because like I said, I'm not starting this until I leave America, mainly because I just, for me, it's just, one, it's too much to record, and two, I just don't like I like being able to start something and have it looking good. And so yeah, like I said, it could be me, it could be someone else, someone with me, I should say. And if that is, that's all, that's gonna be awesome. And so, like I said, this podcast will stay, but then you're gonna have another podcast, a sports podcast. I don't really know what I'm gonna call it yet. If you have any ideas, drop them below. Let me know what you think, some ideas you have. I know Full Court Press is what I show that I had in college for 4 years, and I've thought about bringing that back as the name, but then that limits to like really focus on one sport. Or I might come up with a completely different one. But like I said, it's I really want you to experience sports, to learn about sports, to understand sports, and to ultimately get a better handle on what you're watching. And from a guy that has watched sports his whole life and is just a real dude that just wants to talk about sports with you, not someone that's had necessarily experienced the professional level, but just wants to talk about sports like every fan does. And so that's what that's going to be about. And I'm super excited about it. Along with that, and if you're listening to this on podcast and you don't know, I do have a YouTube channel, The Bound Experience. And over there, that's where all the podcasts go. But then also, I'm going to start a series. Basically, it's going to be about an American in Hungary and kind of the differences, the struggles, maybe the good things that an American experiences in Hungary. And it's going to be kind of a vlog style, but there'll also be just talking points with maybe other Hungarians or other Americans. It's just going to be a series, right? Like, I'm just going to make these videos and we're going to see how they do. But I really think it's going to be an really entertaining point of view, in the sense that, as an American living in Hungary, how does it change your lifestyle compared to what you're used to here in America? And then on top of that, Rebeka and I will be coming back doing videos. We loved doing them previously. I know you guys, maybe not as you as much, but I know Hungarians enjoyed me butchering their language. We'll probably come back with those videos, and we'll do some stuff with Rebeka and just, I guess, showing different things. I don't really know. We'll figure it out. But it's going to be a blast. We're excited to do more videos. I'm excited to just get back at it. I spoke of it maybe a couple podcasts, might have been a while ago actually, how I was kind of losing the flavor for making videos and stuff. And I do apologize if all you've been watching on The Bound Experience is, wow, another podcast episode. And I think part of it is I just hit a dead spell. I just kind of hit that like burnout phase where I was just like, I don't really have the motivation to make it. I don't really have the motivation to do anything other than the podcast. And I think part of it is just lacking that creativity, but kind of getting away from who I am and trying to make things to maybe press people, and even podcasts, to the sense like, felt some podcasts are just not that good because I'm not focusing on what I just love. And that's just talking about life, and then now talking about sports. And so I'm excited to see what happens. I'm really excited to see where this YouTube channel goes and how God blesses it. And I pray that you guys will stick alongside it. And I hope that you will be able to focus on it. Maybe not focus on it, that sounds weird, but like be able to watch it and be and enjoying it. And if you have anything to tell me, just let me know. I'm always wanting to learn and to get better at what I do. And so that's pretty much all of that. Like I said, this podcast episode is more of a life podcast episode, kind of things I've learned. And I wanted to finish up by saying two things that I've learned now that I'm getting ready to go back. Two things I've learned since I've been home. One thing that I've learned is that time with family goes fast, and time with family is precious. You don't realize that, I think, when you're away. Like when I was away, I thought of it, but didn't realize it until I've come back and I'm getting ready to leave again, and realizing like, even just, walking my grandma's dog or something like that, those moments of just being able to chat and stuff like that, it goes a long way. And you never know when your last day is or when someone else's last day is. And I've learned that lesson. I've probably said this lesson so many times because of when grandpa passed away, but really have learned it as I now move my life, not just for a year, but I move my life to another country and live there, and not coming home every year maybe, or even every 6 months, but whenever I get the chance and whenever I can afford it. And so that's something I've really learned, is that, it's a precious time and we need to use it carefully and cautiously and be willing to step out of our comfort zones. And so, and then the second really lesson that I've learned before I've gone back is that God is always he's always playing the game ahead of the game. And what I mean by that is he's always got that plan that is bigger than our plan. That's bigger than everyone else's and everyone else's. And I've seen that as like things I think are going to be terrible, but they end up being like, wow, this is actually kind of cool to see. And that's where it really comes into, I think, when I've been frustrated at being home and like missing Hungary, or I've been missing Rebeka, or I've been just frustrated at little things here and there, and then seeing how God takes care of it. And then the next time seeing how God takes care of that, a problem that I didn't even see, but he took care of it, or this or that. And like having to sit back and saying like, God, you are amazing. And God, you are the only thing I need. You are my Lord. And I need to remember that. And I love how he just reminds us over and over again. It's like one step ahead, and he reminds us. Another step. He's like 40 steps ahead. Oh, we're reminding you. He's reminding us that we can't do this life without him. And without him, this life doesn't exist. We don't get that free gift without God. And so I've been reminded that over and over of these last 4 months as I've been here. And as I get ready to go back, I want to remind myself every day of those things. That God is here, that God's plan is above my plan. It's above what I think. It's above what I'm making as a teacher. It's above what the things I want. That God is truly always looking for the best for us, because it's not even just for the best of us, it's for his glory. So he knows what is going to happen, what we need, even if we don't realize what we need. So I hope you remember that. I hope you keep that in your mind as you go throughout the rest of the summer, as you go to your, maybe next year, if you're a teacher, as you know, next year you're teaching, maybe you're working right now, and the next day you go to work, you remember that every single day. So once again, I just want to say thank you for all the support, not just with the podcast, but over these last few years I've been doing videos and stuff. It truly means a lot. I love talking with you that enjoy watching or listening. It's really encouraging. So I hope that you will continue enjoying join this podcast. Hopefully you'll listen to the new podcast that'll be happening in the near future, and maybe even get some sporting knowledge in your head as well. And so once again, I want to remind you of this: that we serve an amazing God, that he is faithful. We can trust him. And as always, we'll talk next time.